Let's talk about how you guys are able to get properties from land bank and how you're able to really do new development.
So that's why I tell people it's important to get in different rooms and to hear different people's stories, just to understand that you ain't the only one.
You know. Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Winners Win Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Jennings. Today, I got another special guest with me, my man, Mr. Mike Jenkins with 3D Visions. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, man. Appreciate you having me, bro.
Nah, bro, I appreciate you coming here. Welcome to Miami, first of all.
Yeah.
I know you ain't no stranger to the city. We was talking about that, but damn, I'm gonna be transparent. So I got hip to I've seen your brand online over the last probably year. Because like I was telling you off camera, like I kind of took a back seat from online. So when I came back online, I started seeing you in different places popping up. I said, damn, okay, cuz look, okay, let me see what's going on. But what really hit me to you was last week you posted something kind of like where you came from and where you're at. And the minute I seen that and I seen that transition in that story, I said, no, I got to talk to my brother because I want to learn more about you and your story and what you got going on. And so, a little backstory on me and how I feel like there's some similarities. So, real estate is what got me into government contracting. So, people that know me and know my story know I was developing real estate here in Miami in the early 2000s. And that's how I got into construction. Real estate market crashed. I had nothing to do. I couldn't flip houses, couldn't do nothing. Started doing construction for the government and then so on and so on. And that's what built my wealth and my story. So when I seen you, talking about developing and all that, I already know the impact and the power of that. So that's what further brought me in like, okay, I got to see what he's talking about. And so by you going out here teaching people how to do it, I think that's dope because, real estate that's it. Like real estate is where a bulk of people gain their wealth, right? Because one thing they ain't making is they ain't making no more land. So if you
100%.
so if you can own land and understand how to leverage land, you can make some money. So go ahead and tell the people kind of a little bit about you, where you come from, and how you got into this whole thing.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Mike Jenkins. The brand is 3D Visions. Where I come from, we like to steer away from our story a lot. You know what I mean? And so what I've been trying to dive into more is just being more of myself and exposing more of my past. Cause we come from a dark background, from being in the streets to, going through things and having to transition into corporate America. You know what I mean? But how I landed into new development was what's crazy is because it's crazy how the power of the tongue and the power of the word is. I always grew up on I was always around real estate in the streets. So I had cousins, older OGs that was in the streets. And then I got 3 uncles and 9 aunties. They all construction workers and designers, and my grandpa, custom home builder and designer. So they was all labor. So when I went to that side of the family, I was exposed to construction. I was exposed to real estate, right? So in 2012, I started my real estate company, and the name of it was called Upper Echelon Real Estate. And and when I was running around the streets, I always used to, when people asked me what I did, when you're in the streets, you kind of get offended when people ask you that,
Yeah.
like, oh, I do real estate. So for years, I told people I did real estate, but I never bought my first property until 2015.
Yeah. And so real estate, you got into it. Was it when you bought your first property? Were you doing development, or was it just typical rehab?
It was typical rehab. What they tell, what the first thing they tell people is wholesale flip or be a realtor. So we always fall victim to that because we gonna do what we was told or what we seen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So my first property was actually a land bank property that I bought for 5,000 before I actually went in and did some time, and I was able to flip that while I was behind the wall by, managing it, talking to my peoples, basically telling them what to do, how to do it, left them with a little bit of money or whatnot. And it actually ended up being a successful project.
So when you had and we can touch on it as much or as little as you want to, but when you had to sit and sometimes we talk about that as it's a blessing and a curse at the same time. A lot of times, right? You may have to do that and you learn and you grow. Did you take that time to learn more about real estate and kind of deepen yourself in it, or how did that go for you?
100%. So it was a blessing for me because I didn't get a life sentence. So I knew I was coming home. And then I had my firstborn. So between having my firstborn and between just knowing that, look, I'm in pictures with too many people that's dead or got life sentences.
Right.
It's time to do something different. So I bought the first property. I got in there. I was around a bunch of like business people that was in there for tax reasons, people that wasn't even drug dealers. I was spending time with.
Mhm.
So soon as I hit the pound, my man hit me with, they hit you with the care package. Part of his care package was a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Once I read that book, that was the first book I read my whole entire life. I think I was 25, 26 years old. That changed my whole mindset. So I started tapping into books. I started tapping into personal development. And then I started tapping into real estate, creative financing, and stuff like that. So I actually did educate myself and get exposed to real estate, but it was more so the mindset shift on the personal development.
It's crazy when you talk about like who you was in with. So the dude that actually taught me new development when I was in my 20s, he was a brother and he was down and he was at a low. And the low he was at, he was with Steve Madden. And Steve Madden was the one that actually taught him about development and all that. So when he
Yeah.
came home, he started putting all us on game. And that's the same thing. Says like, man, I was in there, I learned more in there than anything because of the people that I was having to be around and the conversations they was having. He was like, that shit was like college.
Exactly, like college. And what's crazy is I went to the state when I was 19. And the state is way different from the feds.
100%.
And I realized that when I went to the feds, the state, my intentions when I went to the state was, I'm gonna be a little tougher. I'm gonna be a little gangster, go in there, meet a few people, right? I came out and I was still a knucklehead, but the feds was way different. And when people go to the feds, your first initial thing is when you don't get no crazy time is I'm gonna go meet a plug. Then I'm gonna come home and be the man
Yeah, I'm
again.
gonna be the man.
That shit was dead as soon as I hit the pound. I had a whole nother shift between reading those books and just connecting with the right people and just understanding that we could do something different.
Yeah. The thing that I love about y'all up north is, we don't have them land banks down here to be able to get them properties. Every time I hear people out of Detroit, Ohio, Indiana, they be like, we hit the land bank. I'm like, damn, why we ain't got that in Florida? Y'all boys killing me, man. I'm out here struggling. Um, kind of let's start the story right there. Let's talk about how you guys are able to get properties from land bank and how you're able to really do new development. Because I think real estate for a lot of people that come from where we come from, they hear real estate, but a lot of them don't have the knowledge. And then if they do get the knowledge, the first thing they think is Section 8 rental properties like that.
Yeah.
But for you to go from really, I look at it like you say, wholesale and flipping all that. You look at, people start with Section 8, then they'll get froggy, they'll get into flipping when they want to take some risk. But new construction, like very rarely do you hear people jumping into that. So how were you able to take that risk and really do that?
So I break it down. I try to make it quick too, because I know we ain't got long. So the land banks that's something that's going to be in most major cities where they got gentrification going on and they trying to redevelop the city. It's one of the biggest wholesalers out there.
Uh-huh.
They use the same methods. They find the properties that where they ain't cut the grass, ain't paid the taxes, all that kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
The biggest difference is they're impact driven. So they have government funds to cover the gap. They may have paid 10,000 for something, but they may sell it to us for 1,000. So they have government funds that cover the gap. One of the reasons why it's probably not big down here in Florida, more so South Florida, just because the market is so high up here, the houses are so high,
Mm-hmm.
everything is so high. I mean, you could pay 500,000 and you be in Broward County in the hood.
Mm-hmm.
You pay 500,000 up north, that's
You
that's
in there,
that's
yeah.
upper class.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, but how I came across that first land bank property was actually I had a mentor, somebody I looked up to that kind of took me under their wing. And they already had a relationship with the land bank. And we put an application in on this property. And he said, I'm gonna put one in too. And he said, just in case they don't give it to you and they give it to me, because most land banks are relationship based. So what happened was I didn't win the application. My man did. And he called the land bank and said, I want y'all to give it to him. So he actually gave me my opportunity by doing that.
Yeah.
And then that's what sparked my relationship with the land bank from there. And this was a fix and flip.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? But then to fast forward to getting into new development, when I came home, my man that turned me on to that land bank property, he had transitioned to new development. Cause you gotta think when you're doing full gut renovations, it get tiring. The contingencies, the contractors you're dealing with, the budgets, the money pits, like it's never what it's supposed to be. So most people who get into flipping, the next step is new development. So eventually, I was around certain people that was already doing it, so I took that route.
That's cool.
And then, not to mention, I discovered my talents for architectural designs. So this was a hidden talent I never knew I had. And what happened was people would come to my flips, and the first question they asked was, "Who designed the property?" And I say me. And then they'll ask me again. They say, "Well, nah, who designed it?"
They're like, yeah, no, it's got to be somebody else.
Yeah, I'm like me. I just look like this. You know what I'm saying? So then they'll say, "Are you an architect?" That shit kept sticking with me because in my head, I design all my shit, but as far as being an architect, I ain't go to school. I don't know the softwares, none of that. So what I did was, and all my flips used to be like over the top. We selling at the top of the market, breaking comps, doing shit that you see in $1 million homes, and that come natural. That just came natural to me, right? Even as a kid, I used to grow up and watch HGTV, and people thought I was weird. You know what I'm saying? So I started diving into some architectural softwares and stuff like that. And I started designing floor plans for people's flips. You know, you go in there, you want to make an open floor plan, put the LVL up, you know, add a master bathroom, stuff like that, right? And then that graduated into designing blueprints for other people's new builds. And then that exposed me even more to the new development side. So where if I'm designing and I understand blueprints and how they work, and I'm having meetings with structural engineers and civil engineers and stuff like that, well, why don't I just take that route?
No, that's cool. That's amazing. So in between the time that you came out and really started doing it to now, approximately you think how many projects have you worked on? Or how many do you try to work on? Let me rephrase that. Because that the amount doesn't matter. How many do you try to work on at one time or throughout the course of a year?
I don't like to put numbers on nothing, but I always like to have at least 2 to 3 projects going on.
That's why I said let me rephrase because I thought about it. Yeah, because I'm the same way.
It's always good to have 2 to 3 because one of them might not work out how you wanted to work out, new development or not. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you don't want to get when people get into real estate and they got one project going, it's going to become stressful because when something go wrong, now you tied. Now you start getting emotionally tied. Your bank account start getting tied to it, even though you may have a loan. So it's always good to have at least 2 projects going on at one time.
In your opinion, what has been the hardest part about the whole new development game?
For me, the hardest part for me was thinking that just because I made it out the streets, that nobody in corporate America is out to get you.
I fight with that every day. Like
I'm like, okay, I ain't dealing with robbers, jackers, and the police. These people, how can they fuck me?
Bro, I tell people all the time, the streets is so much safer than being in corporate America when you think about like the aspect of actually doing the business.
100%.
The streets is cold because of other shit. It's not the actual business. In business, it's the business that is. These folk will look in your face, smile, laugh with you, and just completely fuck your life up and think it's okay. And then the next day talk to you like ain't nothing happened.
I mean, I've been struggling with that, to be honest with you. And, you know, it cost me a lot of money. It cost me a lot of time. It cost me a lot of stress. Because it's like when that happened, it's like where we come from, it's like, okay, well, we could think about doing something to you. Or, you know, we probably would. But when we changed our life, it's like, damn, I can't even do nothing to this motherfucker.
My wife would say, when I tell you I struggle with that on a daily basis, dog, even driving here, like people like they was trying me, and it's just like I had to look at my phone and I had to just sit my phone down. I said, I just gotta chill for a minute because I can't respond to these people based on how I feel right now because of how they got me feeling. So let me just put my phone down for 15 minutes and just not respond to this because they will try you and it's okay to them. So I definitely 110%. If don't nobody feel you on that, I feel you.
Everybody come from where we come from. That's where we at now. They definitely understand because so that's why I tell people it's important to get in different rooms and to hear different people's stories just to understand that you ain't the only one.
You know,
You know what I'm saying?
that's crazy because we were talking about the internet stuff before we started the cameras. That's honestly, if I could say anything that I really do value about the internet and what it's done for me, is the ability to meet individuals like that, to get in rooms with people that, because then it's like, and I can already tell, and we ain't known each other but 20 minutes, you a big thinker just like me, like you a dreamer, like you see things and the visions that we have, the average person would think we crazy. But that's what I've been able to take from the internet is I've been able to meet people that think just as crazy as me. And it's like, nah, bro, that really ain't that crazy. Maybe X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
And having that ability at this age to me is dope because I'm able to expose myself to new things that I never would have thought about trying before because I just would have stayed in my comfort zone. One of the big things that I know everybody always talks about, especially when you start talking about real estate or any type of business, is the financing and funding part. So how is it financing and funding some of these projects in 2026?
It's pretty simple. You got a lot of these funding gurus running around. I can get you 100K, 150, 200K in funding and stuff like that. I'm gonna be truthful. Now, most people that got a decent credit profile, we getting them around 75 grand, 100 grand on the high end on the first go around. Now, if we could keep your land purchase and your architectural purchase within that budget, then okay, that's how we go purchase the land and get our architectural process started and go get our permits. Once we have all that, we got the hard money lenders that's going to give us 100% construction costs. So if you need 400 or 500 grand, if you need $1 million, 1.5, since you down here, there's lenders out here that'll give it to you without no tax returns, no revenue, none of that. Just asset based upon the ARV or what the house will sell for after it's done. And they gonna give us up to 70%, which that's if we should be well at 70% into the deal for it to be a good deal anyway.
No, that's cool because that's one thing that people always do is they think that finance is the limiting factor for them to not do anything. And I try to tell people like if you really serious about doing something, you can make it happen. And so it's good for you to really speak on and tell the truth because, like you said, it's true. It's so many people out here on the internet telling people, "Oh, we could do this, we could do this, you could do this," and then folks go get tricked off the street thinking that it's one way, and now all they did was get themselves in debt and they ain't done nothing.
Yeah. So the other way when it comes to real estate, I always tell people because everybody like, well, I want to wait for my credit to get right, or my credit ain't right. Well, how am I buy land, or they got all these different fears, right? But one thing about real estate is a good real estate deal, the money gonna follow it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't understand what private money is and how to tap into private money because they feel I was having a conversation with somebody the other day and I was teaching him how to basically spark a conversation with somebody that will lend money to your deal, right? To present them an opportunity that investing in this real estate project is not only going to give you a better return than what you sitting in your bank account or your stock account or whatever that may be, but it's going to give you an opportunity to be a part of history. You know what I'm saying? We 4.5 million housing units shorts, and we 4.5 million housing units short in America, and we less than 2% minority developers, and within that 2%, it's 0.5% black people. So you telling me that 98% of the people in this industry don't look like us, and it's a $1 trillion industry. And people see all these people that look like us online and think it's a lot of us, but it's not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's about positioning yourself and going to raise the private money and understanding that real estate ain't like Walmart where you can just go in there and pick a deal off the shelf. You got to go get the deal and then everything else is going to follow the deal. And if whatever doesn't follow the deal and you fall out of contract, that deal wasn't meant for you to do.
I feel like that in business as well. How has it been breaking down the barriers? So you talked about how 98% of people in the business don't look like us. So how has that been for you? Really coming in, breaking down those barriers and letting people know that you're serious and you're not going to go nowhere and you are going to do this no matter what it takes. How has that been?
You just got to keep going and you got to take the deals that come your way. You got to execute them, get more efficient on the project management side, on the construction management side, right? On your budgeting side. So now we're finding different ways to source materials to get our budgets and stuff down, working out some China connects and stuff like that. But just keep going, I have a lot of appraisal issues. So me, I don't like to show up or expose who I am to the appraiser because we have appraisal issues with, in this industry. That's one of the biggest things we deal with. So put somebody else in place for that. You know what I mean? So just adapt to the environment, but also understand that they pulling the red tape back day by day. You see, they approving ADUs across the country now. They're more open to dealing with people like us. So now's the time to actually get started instead of being scared, feeling like they don't want us in. They gotta let us in at this point.
Mm-hmm. And the barrier to entry is not what they try to make it. Because I know I struggle with that in my industry in government contracting. So many people think it's difficult to get in, and they think that the barrier to entry is so high. And I have to literally sit and tell them, like, it's not that serious. They just got y'all tricked that it is, so you stay out. You think you see it the same way in real estate right now?
100%. Yeah. Especially when it comes to development. Because you got to think, real estate development is real estate at its highest peak. You got residential development, and then the only thing above residential is commercial.
It's commercial, yeah.
That's it. So, us, we think so small, and we think so, I just want to do this. Our mindset is I just want to wholesale and make a couple hundred bands. I just want to flip. I just want to own a few properties, right? So when you think about development, it's just like we say, we just want to make a few million. But what about somebody that want to make $1 billion or 100 million? We get scared. Damn, 100 million, $1 billion, we get scared. So that's what they do. They get scared when it comes to development because they don't see people like us doing it.
Nah, I'm telling you, that's why when I started seeing stuff, that's what was like, hold on, I really got to talk to bro. Because when I seen you did that and you was online talking about development, I'm like, oh, okay. Because most people you hear, oh, just wholesale, make a couple dollars, flip some properties, make a couple dollars. Oh, let me teach you how to get rental property. But when you was talking development, I said, nah, this brother, he owns something because it is. Everybody, like, I've been doing real estate since 2000 and I started in 2004 doing real estate. And I took all of those steps. But when I started developing and when my man put me on the developing and building, I was like, oh, wait, hold on. He's like, nah, you making money from day one. You know what I'm saying? You buying out your subs, you're doing this, you're doing that. Then your values are increasing. Cause like you say, you're pushing the market when you come to market with your new stuff. Then it's like, when I started really understanding how much money can be made, I was like, nah, hold on, this is way better. So do you mind breaking down the different ways to make money through the development process?
One of the biggest ways we make money is through a developer's fee. And people sleep on that. Why? Because everybody wholesaling, everybody flipping, everybody starting businesses. And what do they say? They go into it with a hustle mindset, saying that I'm gonna work for myself for free and I'm gonna make money when the business make money. The Fortune 500, there's no other business models out there like that. It's only us because we going into stuff with a hustle mindset. So when people do flips, even when I was doing my flips, we never budgeted in our time, our gas money. When we buying the workers food, right? When we going back and forth to Lowe's, to the job site, having meetings and stuff like that. But when you look at how the builders do it, there's a line item. Developer's fee, contractor's fee, owner's fee, project management fee. It's all these different fees for management and for people involved with the project. All the contractors get paid throughout the construction. The suppliers get paid throughout the construction. Why should we not get paid because we owners on paper? So the developer's fee is one of the biggest fees because we start making money as soon as we get that first draw. And it could be, depending on how hefty the budget is, you anywhere from 10 to 20% of the overall construction budget. So if you got $1 million budget, 10%, that's 100 bands. You know what I'm saying?
See that when you said that about the hustling mindset, that we so aligned on that. Cause that's the biggest struggle that I have with coaching people today. Is telling them that this is business, it's not a hustle. So yes, we all understand how to hustle, but you got to change your mindset when you get in this business, because that's exactly what you're saying. People missing out on the bag in doing real estate because they just don't understand how to make it a real business. what do you think on average? And I know we're not going to say a specific number, but on average, once a home is built, what's the typical profit margins that someone can make when they try to sell after construction?
At least 100 bands is typical.
Wow.
Yeah, 100 bands on an average size house is typical. When you get into bigger houses, more luxury, that's when you get into the $200,000-300,000 profits, and then luxury builds, it get crazy. You know what I'm saying? It can get crazy, but for the average person just started, they want to look for 100K profit. Or if you in somewhere like Fort Myers, Tampa,
Uh-huh.
LaBelle, and the areas to where you build 1,200 square foot ranches and you pounding them out in 4 to 6 months, turnaround time close to close, you could take a 70K, 60K profit
Quick.
because you 4 to 6 months in and
Quick.
out.
Yeah.
Budget only a couple hundred
We're gonna
grand.
talk because I got I got land out in Charlotte County and in Sarasota County.
Yeah.
I bought because one thing that I used to do because I'm a real estate guy. So even though I'm making money in government contracting, I my wife get mad at me because I make myself broke. So if I got an extra 100, I just go buy real estate and I just forget about it.
Hmm.
So I bought lots in Charlotte and Sarasota County like 5 years ago. And I've been saying, yeah, I'm gonna build, and all I do is just pay the taxes every year.
Is that in?
It's in my stuff is in so we had a farm. We used to have a farm right outside of Port Charlotte, and I sold my farm a couple years ago. But right now I got lots in oh god, Sarasota County. I forget the name of the city, but it's just a little bit north of Port Charlotte.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. With that, I mean, you're in a good market, but that's a good position to be in when you can just park some money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do it just because I don't go back to my old ways and just start buying shit that I don't need.
Hmm.
I got properties in Jacksonville all over. I just be buying stuff
Yeah.
because it's just. I mean, at the end of the day, it's real estate. So
Yeah.
you ain't never gonna lose if you own the dirt.
Yeah. And when you own it outright, I mean, look, all you gotta do is put some plans together to go
And
get the
go.
construction loan.
Yeah, we definitely gonna tap in about that and figure out how to get something going. What's the next for you, right? And 3D Visions, what's the next thing, the progression for you as a business and as a developer? Where do you see yourself going?
On the development side, I see myself focusing more on luxury residential builds, and diving deeper onto the design side, and contracting out the construction management side of it. And then for online, I see myself exposing more who I am. I got my biography coming out this year that we just got done writing. May even entertain turning it into a show and just spreading the word out, and so to let people know that people where we come from, we don't got to stay there. We can do something different. We can turn a negative into a positive. So leveraging my story to help impact as many people as possible transition.
That's what it's all about. I learned a long time ago, a man's legacy is not what he does when he's here, it's what he leaves when he's gone. So the legacy that you're trying to leave for yourself and impacting others, that's powerful. And that's at the end of the day, bro, that's what it's all about. So I salute you. And I'm definitely proud of you for doing that because what you're saying is so true. Where we come from, we're told not to talk, not to tell our stories, not to share, not to do all those types of things. And that's something that I had to learn over the last couple of years, that there's people all over this country that look like me, that talk like me, that come from where I'm coming from, that understand the things that I've been through. And so when they're able to look at me and see what I've been able to do in business, I've been able to impact them to do things. And it's so dope because now it's just, I've always been in Miami coming up. I've been in business since I was in my 20s. So I've been running the streets of Miami, making money for a long time. So people have always known me around here for what I've done. But now to be able to tap in with a brother in St. Louis, another brother in Phoenix, and all these different people, and to show them things, and they're able to impact their communities, that's where I get a lot of my fulfillment from. So I definitely salute you for doing what you're doing because that's big, and that's what we need in our community.
100%. And I feel like it was God's calling for me. I always been a private, off the camera type of guy, especially coming from where we come from, right? I ain't never been a super flashy person when it came to, cars. I always dressed nice, was always fly, what I mean, always like attention, stuff like that. But I was always private. And, God last year, he put me in front of 200 million people overnight. And I remember when I did the podcast with Shannon Sharp on Nightcap, he said, I want to let you know that your life will never be the same moving forward from now. And as I'm moving around and I'm doing things and people are looking at me and they walking up to me in airports and stuff like this, and I'm starting to realize what he was saying. But I'm also starting to realize my calling from God to impact people.
That's a huge responsibility and stuff like that. God don't place that type of responsibility on everybody. That's how I feel with me with the internet. So I was never supposed to be online. Like people that know the story is crazy. I've always, like I said, I've always been somebody that showed and mentored in the hoods, right? So I was mentoring another young brother on how to start his government contracting business. And he had a podcast that he was doing with some other dudes. And he was like, "You mind coming on?" Mind you, I had no social media, no nothing. I go on and I'm telling how I'm helping him. And one of the dudes was like, "Oh man, you should put out a course. You can help people." I said, "Well, I don't know what that is, but if you do it, I'll do it." The brother created the course, the government cheese course, put it out, and I created my Instagram in May. The second post I ever did went viral. And then I just became this person on, and I'm like,
That's how I do it.
I ain't asked for nothing. Like I didn't.
Internet powerful, man. It's the reason why we sitting down today.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And then there's you hear the saying real recognize real.
Uh-huh.
There's so much magnetic energy in real recognizing real. It literally makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so real can actually recognize real on the internet too. That's why the algorithm is switching more to authentic videos to where people just picking up their camera recording because people getting tired of all these people being phony on the internet trying to be somebody they not.
Mm-hmm.
So it's being your authentic self is what's in now. But when you connect with somebody else that's authentic, it's like there's a natural connection.
Yeah.
That's why we're able to be connected to real niggas across the whole country.
I'm telling you, it's been powerful for me. When I started, I don't know if you're doing events yet, but I started doing events like 2 years ago. And when I started doing events, it's been one of my favorite things to do. Is I do quarterly events in different cities.
Mm-hmm.
And when I have those events, it's amazing to me because I literally will pack a room with just niggas that look like us, walk like us, talk like us, and we talking about high level business. And people, it'll be funny because I'll have a room of 30 people and 25 of them be just real niggas, and then you'll have a couple, and people will be in there looking like, what is going on here? And it's so gratifying to me because then I'm used to going to events in my industry and everybody in there with suit and tie. But I throw an event and everybody in there in t-shirts and sweats and jeans just chilling. But we talking about really making progress. And then I was telling you a story about the brother, my boy Jamil out of Dallas. He's one that come to my event and hit for 1.5 in 1 week. So now he's able to show things, and now other cats in the streets of Dallas is looking at him like, "Damn, what you got going on?" He's telling them, "Hey, this government contracting thing. This how we can do things." And it's expanding. And that shit to me is, I'll never stop because of the impact.
The events is mandatory. It's crazy because I just started doing events. So my first event was actually here last year.
Oh, okay.
It was in July. I took people to a $7 million new build, luxury new build, and then we got on a yacht. I was on a 150-foot yacht. I put 80 motherfuckers on there.
There you go.
They showed up, right? Captain was tripping there. It was crazy, right? Right? I found one person to do it, and we was only supposed to have 50. We ended up with 80, right? But when people show up for us, it does something. It does something for us, but it does something for us in a good way. So I just had an event May 2nd. I just had an event in my hometown. They show up, you know what I'm saying? They pull up, and it's the same people, how you say, but it's the impact and it's the connection, because real niggas want to connect with real niggas in person.
That's it.
Because they so stuck in their street mindset, they like, oh, this internet shit, I want to connect with them in person. So it's one of the best ways to impact people is with events. So I'm actually planning to do a big event to where I want to bring out about 300 to 500 people. So we definitely gonna have some conversations where I can bring you in, and we can help maximize it for sure.
I would love it. Before we jump, why don't you tell everybody about the brand and how you're able to help them? If somebody say, "Hey man, I'm liking what these boys talking about. How can I get down? How can people get down with you?"
Yeah, so what y'all can do is just tap in with me on IG, 3D Visions with a Z_. I'm on TikTok as well, all the other social media platforms. And what I have is it's fully integrated. You can work with me one-on-one, you could do group coaching, and it's in-house. We got credit repair, we get you the funding, I get you the hard money lenders to get your construction loan approved. Everybody worry about not having no experience. I know what to do to get you approved without having no experience. And now we're working on actually finding the deals for you so you can come in and get access to land and get to it right away.
Pretty much people can do this any city around, right? There's a
Yeah,
way to do
I'm
it.
teaching across the whole country, so I ain't just stuck on one city because it's the same formula, just different red tape.
Mm-hmm. Now that's cool, man. Well, man, I appreciate you, Mike, for tapping in with us. I appreciate just the real conversation we're able to have. Like I said, I love to see what you're doing. I love to see how you're able to impact people because, to be honest with you, that's what we need. That's what I feel like that's what's been lacking. It's just people getting out here telling their story, and I applaud you for being willing to share your story. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? Because like I said, I feel like that's what we need because there's a whole group of people out there I think that are really searching for this type of knowledge and this type of game because they want to make a change. It's like, what I'm saying? A lot of us chose to make a change. So
Yep.
I 100% applaud you for what you're doing and I appreciate you for coming through and tapping in. So thank you again, my brother. And
Appreciate it, bro.
yeah, and thank you guys for tuning in to another great episode of Winners Win. Once again, I'm Kevin Jennings. I'll see you next time.
Make sure y'all get with government cheese, man. Y'all heard what he said. His man just locked in 1.5 million in 1 week, man. Changing lives for real, man.
So definitely appreciate you, bro.
Yes, sir.